Let's talk. Hello, welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Salley Gibney. You know how we see so many young people leaving Vermont? You know, there's not many jobs, and rent is very, very high. And it's really, really sad. But today, my guests are two wonderful, wonderful young people who have come back to Vermont and started a business. I am so thrilled to have Alex Fraser and Dean Fraser here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Sally.
For having us.
Thanks for having us.
This is really such a neat story and something that I think so many of us need to hear. Alex, or Allie, we know each other for so many years.
Yes, for a long time.
So you're very special to me.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm back home, I feel like, here in Vermont, where I grew up and spent a good part of my childhood. And I got to leave and explore a lot of different places. And I guess my heart kind of was always here. So I feel like this is a really nice opportunity to have kind of a conversation about how great it's been to bring my family to this area and do all the things that we have kind of been scheming to do for a really long time.
What did you do in Burlington?
I was teaching for many years up there. I got really involved with agriculture programs and bringing garden education to the classroom for students with special needs. It was a high school, and we actually met there. And
I want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Dean, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I grew up north of Boston in a small little town called Boxford, and went to school down in Rhode Island, Providence College. And after I graduated from there with a degree in business management, I went out to Utah and using my degree went into wilderness therapy where I was a guide out in southern Utah.
So what did you do there?
We would bring, it was an intervention program, so we would bring, we'd go out for a few weeks at a time and bring kids that were just having trouble with, varying things, whether it was substance abuse, behavioral issues, and they would go out and they would backpack for 3 or 4 months at a time.
Wow.
And we would go, the staff would go shift, would go in and out for a week, and it was a really interesting and job. So
did you find that it really impacted the kids, that you really could see a difference?
Definitely, like getting away from just all of the stimuli of just everyday life and being able to go into a quiet in the middle of the desert essentially, and have some space to think and kind of look at oneself. Yeah, exactly. A lot of the therapy is done just with natural consequences, and when you're living in the backpacking and in the desert, if you don't set up your shelter right when it does rain,
you get wet.
You get wet. So there's there's a lot of natural consequences. So I didn't have to do any of the therapy. I just made sure that they were taking care of themselves.
Right. But I imagine you kind of learned something about yourself too.
Definitely.
As you're doing something like this.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, you're out there, you're within the group, and it's a group of 15, 16 kids, and with 4 or 5 staff, and you're in it. Like you're dealing with the same elements that they're dealing with, whether it's.
So when did you come back to Vermont?
So I spent about 2 years doing that, and then in I don't know what it was, 2013, whatever.
Yeah.
I went back east to kind of just be closer to family, and Burlington seemed like the right spot, and went out there, interviewed for a job at a special needs school.
Yes.
And who was the person who interviewed you?
Me? Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
She was my boss from the start.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Can we get that in writing?
So I just, on a side note, were there any sparks when you first met him? Did you kind of think, this guy is pretty cool?
I was pretty smitten, I would say, yeah. But it was a great place for us to cultivate a great friendship, because we worked and did a lot of things that we were both really passionate about, and for a few years really got to know each other in like a more neutral setting than just dating right off the bat. But we've always just become great friends.
And
right
you've
away.
always both had a love of the earth. And,
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that you've always been interested in.
Yeah, I think something we both really have in common is wanting to always do something that we love doing, and that can be hard, to do and sustain that kind of, I don't know, job. It's hard to find that kind of job everywhere you go. And
It's very hard to
that.
find something that you love to do
Yeah.
that can support you.
Yeah.
That's
Support
right.
you financially, because we all have wonderful dreams and ideas, and sometimes you just can't put it together, and you see a lot of people doing things they don't love, but they have to, and that's kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
when you got married, when?
2015, just a couple of years ago.
Fabulous
yeah.
wedding, I have to say.
Thank
It was
you. That's
absolutely
right. You were
wonderful.
there
I
at
was
Grafton.
there.
A lot of
It was
dancing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the two of you sit at your table, and it was
Aw.
young love. It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
really, really nice. So you lived in Massachusetts for a bit.
We did. We left Vermont kind of wanting to explore new work and being in the city, and kind of, just making sure that was or was not for us, kind of was the goal. And I think pretty quickly upon settling in, and also starting a family, we were like, wow, we miss a lot of the things that Vermont just kind of naturally gave us without us really having to think much about it. And so I think we pretty quickly were coming up with a plan to get back to the area.
Yeah, it was pretty immediate. As soon as we got there, we were like, okay, how
This
do we?
isn't it.
But we've been shooting to come to this area for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, it's probably like 4 years. We've been
Yeah.
wanting to.
What is it about Vermont that you love? What is it that drew you back?
The list is really long, and I think most people who have been here or live here just know that there's a sense of, there's a simplicity that just, I think, you can't find in other places, where you have the combination of community and the outdoors and just the aesthetic. You just wake up and it's like, I can't
Yeah.
believe
I'm
I
here.
live here. Just the drive over here today, we were like, oh my gosh, like as if we've never seen it before. But every
Yeah.
year, it really is impressive, all the seasons. I fall in love with Vermont every time I get the chance to
Again
just
and
kind
again
of get
and
out.
again.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
silly,
Yeah.
but it's true.
Now,
Absolutely.
Dean, you weren't from Vermont, so
Right.
did you get that sense of what Vermont is when you were in Burlington, or?
Yeah, Alex introduced me to this area shortly after we met, and I just fell in love. I don't know what, it's the landscape, it's the people. The ceiling is just a little bit higher around here. You feel like you can breathe, and there's just so much to do. You're never bored with our love for nature. Also, the hiking, mountain biking, snowboarding.
So you decided you wanted to come to Vermont. You
Yeah.
knew you wanted to. You kind
Yeah.
of zeroed in on this area. Now, how do you come about starting a business? This has to be pretty scary.
Yeah. Well, my grandmother had a general store growing up in the Lake George area, and it had just been a dream of mine to stand at the counter like she was. And while I was sitting, I remember being there and not even being able to walk yet.
Yeah.
But just kind of growing up in that environment, Alex and I had this kind of idea to do something not like that, but similar. And
Yeah.
Using that kind of as a starting point.
Yeah, that
exactly.
inspiration. I think that, that family feeling, being able to be together, as if we don't see enough of each other. We're just like,
right.
how do
Sometimes
we
a little too
spend
much.
all day together forever and ever?
Well, now let's talk a little bit about Hudson. I am so
Yes.
disappointed he's not here
Yeah.
today.
Oh, I'm
I was so
sorry.
looking forward to him being
I
here,
know.
but he's teething.
He
Yes.
is. So we have a little dream boy at home, but this
we will
none of
put
us
his picture.
had
We
any
are going to
dreams
put his
last night.
picture on the
Great.
screen.
Yes, he's adorable. Hudson, he's just the light of our life. He has inspired us to do everything that we're doing right now, because we want him to be able to just thrive. And no matter what we do right now, he is just not a happy camper because he's teething up a storm. So we're going to leave him to be with Mimi. My mom's in town. And
My
so
dear
it's
friend
like-
Vivian, who is
Yes.
just absolutely wonderful, and she was going to be here and take him if he started to
Yeah.
talk a little bit too much. But so when was Hudson born? That was before you came here, right?
Yeah, so last June, he's just over a year. And yeah, just about as soon as he was here, we were like, okay.
It's time.
Yeah, we're getting.
He was really the
we're gonna go.
catalyst
For sure.
behind what we're doing now.
So you looked in the Manchester area first.
We did, yeah, for sure. And there seems to be a lot of opportunity in the area because you do see a lot of, you know, empty windows. And I grew up here when the town, you know, was thriving
bustling,
and all the stores were open and people were coming. And I think, you know, I mean, that has always been sort of part of my idea of, you know, being in southern Vermont and this area, just Manchester was like our go-to. And we got to check out a lot of really interesting possibilities, but none of them really worked out for us. It didn't really match sort of the whole story that we needed. We needed a place to live and you know, the whole thing was a little more complicated. So we drew a bigger circle.
I was just going to say, you drew a circle, so then you started looking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started exploring a little bit and looking at different places around, and we fell in love with this little town in called Jamaica. So.
Yeah, so we're really thrilled to be there.
Now, how did you find this particular place? How did that happen?
That was kind of just, you know, exploring real estate in the area. I mean, you're looking for commercial stuff or you're looking for somewhere to live, and this one kind of had both of those elements. We were like, "Whoa, that's interesting." You know, the only question for us was like, we really don't know much about this town, and you know, we have a lot of really cool role models that have businesses in the area that have kind of been mentors in terms of, you know, telling us go for it or watch out.
Who might they be?
I mean, my mom, of course, was
Yes.
a really good help for us, inspirational in terms of just her
Well, her
having a
experience
business.
is having a business in Manchester.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
Vivian
for sure.
Everyone knew Vivian and loved her, and she really started and was very successful
Yeah,
in
yeah.
business.
So she was, you know, definitely helpful, and friends of ours who now live in Londonderry. Of course, you know, there's a ton of people all over the place that have helped us kind of find our way. But this was definitely.
Was this a store to begin with?
It's been a lot of things.
Yeah, it was a pottery shop. It was a cafe before we moved in. So the kitchen was already there, which was a huge plus for us. And the other side was a real estate business, and it just seemed like we walked in literally and said, "This is the place," and it helps that upstairs is a 2-bedroom apartment that we can.
Yeah.
It just worked out perfectly. So. Yeah, I think a big inspiration also was my father, who started up a company in construction management, and he said to me when we were, you know, talking about doing this, you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You know?
Oh, really? So did he come down and help you with this?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
he finds all kinds of reasons. Both Susan and Andy are like, I think we got to drive through Jamaica today. And it's like not on the way to anything, but they come and help, and it's really awesome.
Where are they?
They're still where I grew up in north of Boston. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a little bit of a ride over.
A little bit.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
But on his way to see his father, my grandfather, up in Hudson Falls, New York, he kind of does this back route. He's found a back route where he can just conveniently pass through Jamaica to see his grandson. And
That's so great.
Yeah.
Now, so you saw this place.
Yep.
And it was what you needed. You walked in and you said, "This is great." You know, and the upstairs you had the apartment. So how was it? You had to negotiate to purchase this.
Definitely. I think, you know, another cool part about coming to this area is that, like, you get to have a lot of conversations with people, and not everything feels like red tape and doors closing. I think people keep the door open, have open dialogue about their homes, that they're I mean, everything just felt like open. You know, there's like a barter system. There's like, it's still people with people. And I think that connection was really something. We didn't need to like go run to any lawyer or I don't know. We didn't.
It just worked out.
It just worked
Yeah.
out.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because people, some people feel that Vermonters are, very standoffish and that they step back before they jump in to get to know you. They want to figure you out before they commit themselves.
Yeah.
You didn't find that.
No, I feel
No.
like as soon as we started to show interest, people were introducing themselves to us and were saying, this would be great. Jamaica is a wonderful town with a big heart, which we felt immediately.
Immediately, yeah.
And that
Very
sense
tight-knit
made,
community.
Yeah.
it just made
Yeah.
things kind of roll because we weren't thinking, gosh, we're really going to have to win them over here. And it was like, from the beginning, just felt like the right thing to do.
Stopping in to see what you're doing. And
Yeah,
how
very
you're doing it,
genuine.
and,
I mean,
which is,
yeah, a very genuine group of people, and the excitement was also contagious,
Well, that's it.
and which was really good because you get in, you do all these things on paper, and then you get in to do the actual thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh
Oh
boy,
my gosh,
we're
this
really
is
doing
what-
this. This is real.
Yeah,
And then
just quit our jobs, pack the bags like
Oh,
we
we can
clamp
do
it.
this. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then you get people coming in and just talking about how excited they are, and people that have lived here for years, generations, and that was moving for us. I think for me, especially, just because to have that, welcoming
Yeah.
with open arms, like, hey, here, we think
That's
what
so
you're doing
cool.
is great.
Yeah.
Was
And you
awesome.
found some people to help. Now, well, first then you had to do some construction. Yeah, I mean, there was some work you had to do to make the place work for you, right?
Yeah, definitely. And again, it was a really small space, so we were able to do things in a simple way. I think that's kind of our message is like, things can be done simply. We don't have to complicate everything. And
Yeah.
and you don't need the whole vision to come together the day that you walk in the door. And I think when you take those little steps and you breathe and you say, okay, what do we need to do today, and not be constantly looking ahead.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
It doesn't
Right.
have to be
You know,
perfect.
that's
No,
the
it's
thing
never
that
going to
really-
be perfect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's not the goal.
Nothing in life is perfect.
No.
Yeah.
But now you're working with a lot of local people, and you have a lot of
Yeah.
local products and things in that. Share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that our goal was to create a space where folks that produce things locally can showcase their items that don't necessarily have a storefront, and in helping to support those products and get those products out is really important to us.
Now, what
So-
kind of products are we talking about?
Everything from handmade soaps to preserves, pickles, kimchis, homemade sodas. We
Really?
have, there's just a wide array. And then, of course, our beer selection is mostly curated around like Vermont craft beers, which is so easy. And I think that's the thing that is fun for us, is there's such a huge selection because there's so many people making such great stuff around here. So we just have to ask, and
It's
hope
overwhelming.
that they have
bet.
enough
Yeah.
time, because people are creative and they're busy here, and everybody kind of has to go with the season. So you see a lot of people, taking advantage of the summer farmers market, and so we just kind of walk through and say, hey, we love
I
your
need to
product.
come.
We'd
Do you
love
want to?
yeah.
Do you want to showcase it here at our
Yeah,
place?
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's been fun. And cheesemakers, you name it. The bread makers, the bakers that are close to us, we can't get enough of that.
Isn't it amazing the talent that's around?
It
That's
is.
unbelievable.
It is
I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many people who are so creative and so talented, and here you are giving them a place where they can showcase their things, and
Yeah,
and,
it's
and
been
that
awesome.
is huge for the community as well.
I think
Yeah.
I think
You know,
it
I
has
think
been good.
You're
Yeah.
really helping them with their businesses. So as you said, it's such a cooperative thing.
Yeah, and that's the way we always envisioned it. And even with the local music, I think, it's nice to have a venue as small as we are. That makes it a little hard, I think, as we approach the winter. Hopefully we'll pack people in there. But, we've got such talented musicians around, and willing to play and willing to work with us, because, of course, it's important to keep everybody busy with what they love to do. So, as long as we've got flatbreads for trade and things like that. I love the barter system for now. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
But that's really neat. Now, just
Yeah.
for some of our audience who may not know, what is the barter system? How do you work that?
It's not really well defined, but it's certainly, it's about what we're talking about. We have a venue, and some people have, a product or a talent to offer. And so by inviting them in, we can offer them maybe, a meal. And of course, we like to compensate as much as we can with the music, depending on, how things are going. But we're starting up. So this summer has been, I think, a really good indication that that we're being supported by the community and by travelers, people coming to the park.
Well, and especially now with the leaf season coming.
We weren't prepared for the summer piece. Well, we were, but it was like
really?
Whoa, yeah. We were we were hopping. We really had to get in there and get our hands dirty.
Get your act together.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But that's so exciting. I think you're such an inspiration. You're an inspiration to me, but to young people. You can do this. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of courage. But you can do it. And talk about the music piece. You're talking about the music. What are you doing with that?
We've just reached out to musicians and said, hey, we'd love to have you play here, because it is a really nice way to spend the evening or even the afternoon with friends and family. And I think that we want to create this gathering space that showcases, not only good food, we just want to source all the good stuff and have a cool place that people can come enjoy it and bring their families. And we've done it a few times this summer, and every time we're like, wow, this is really fun. And we see all of the people that are both working in the industry and that, are coming off after a hard day's work and just relaxing and bringing their family and having a meal and listening to good music. And it's never ending now because we just kind of keep putting names on the calendar, and that's been
Which is really
fun.
great.
Yeah.
But what a gift you are to the community. I know you're not looking at it that way, but to give people a place where they can come, they can relax, they can enjoy. It's such a challenging time today, and people are going through so much stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
That to be able to come to it, and I have been there and I love it. It's just so, you walk in and you're like, wow, this is so cool. And there's always something different to look at. You've done such a beautiful job with it. And your coffee is especially wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Well, we source it from a very good farm. Yeah, we've got some good connections there. It's been really cool. Finca Esperanza Verde in Nicaragua, my mom's coffee farm.
I know, and I personally, Bob and I were there. And
you did visit, that's right.
Yes, he did, and I have to tell you it was so fantastic and so beautiful, and someday maybe I'll do a show on that.
Oh my gosh,
yes. In the morning, at about 5:30 in the morning, we were up in one of the cabins.
Yeah.
And you could smell this coffee.
Yeah.
And Bob would still be sleeping, and I'd go down and get us 2 cups of coffee, and it was just wonderful. And heated cream, or milk.
Yeah.
And I just bring it up there and sit on the patio and just look out at this.
It's heavenly.
Oh,
yeah.
it is. Yeah. But to know that the coffee came from there, and here you have this very special connection with it is very, very special. So it's just I think, such a wonderful opportunity for us to see you and to see what you're doing, and to invite other young people to think about this, think about taking. I think you both have a lot of courage.
Thank you.
I really respect you both very much, because it's not a simple thing to do.
No, but we feel really lucky that we chose this place and have been so well supported. And it's like inviting people into our home every day. And I think that's what makes it really, despite the unexpected ups and downs of whatever we're going through, it's like it's ours, and we love what we're doing.
And ups and downs are part of life.
Yeah,
it happens, and you just go with it, and you go with the flow.
Yeah.
But you're such a neat couple.
Oh, thanks.
I can see, you have so much fun together.
Yeah, we do.
We do have a lot of fun
we have
together.
a lot of laughs.
And our goal one of our goals that we wrote out in our business plan was to create a community space that people could come and just
hang out with us.
Hang out. Yeah, exactly. And share in the things that we love.
That are important to you. And family is so important to everyone. And now you've created a larger fammy. So
that's it.
One thing, just to back up a little bit, so you did have a business plan.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I write those things.
Yeah, that was the first
Talk
step.
a little bit about that, because I think, it's one thing for us to say, oh, this is wonderful, let's do it. But you did do your homework.
Yes, a lot, about, 4 months of homework.
Yeah.
years of homework, but the actual writing of the plan was really was tough, because that's the first step, and if you can't go to that next step before you do the first step in writing out the plan, whether it's going to be that actual thing once you start the business is completely irrelevant. You have to make a plan to start. So
Is that your business background that helped with that?
a little bit, yeah. I think it was
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was, and also just being able to sit down and I mean, I did still do a lot of research, because I'd never written a business plan. But,
Really?
But it's I did a few in college, but it was more
intimidating.
real. Yeah, it's definitely intimidating.
I
So-
think that's what really holds people back with any idea, is especially for me, because I feel like if if we didn't have this partnership, I would just be like turning around ideas in my head and not know how to put them together. And I think it's really important to find people that can
I
help
mean,
you.
I'm one of those idea people that would just jump into something and then, So you really went step by step with this.
We did, and also we were flexible, I think, with the business plan, because you have, any research you do, there's a certain template for a business plan. And we didn't necessarily, we followed the overall theme, but we also
You
wanted
didn't quite fit in.
Right, we
anything
wanted
specific.
to explain fully, the goal is to explain our business fully, and we didn't necessarily go like, okay, here's the executive summary, here's the mission. We made it so it flowed, and for us it was more, it was less of an arduous process, because it felt genuine to us.
It felt real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it felt real. I am so excited for you both.
Thank
In first
you.
place, I'm thrilled to have you here. Thank you so
Well,
much
thanks
for
for letting
coming.
us come
Yeah,
and
thanks
tell
for
our
And
having
we
story.
are going to put a little picture, because this little Hudson, I mean, from the day he was
cute.
born,
Aw,
the
you're sweet.
pictures, I mean,
I know, there's a lot of
the
them.
personality. I mean, he had personality from when he was
Aw.
born.
He did.
I mean, that
Yeah.
smile, I mean, he's just amazing. And he's a little bit of each of you.
Yeah, he sure
Yeah.
is.
And so you're really comfortable having him grow up here, having
Oh
his-
my
Oh,
God,
yeah.
comfortable is an understatement. We're thrilled. It's like,
Yeah.
It's a dream come
set.
true.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
it's a dream come true
and
for
all
us.
friends and the family that have come. I mean, it's just like, we watch him thrive. He's
Yeah.
stumbling over the there's no flat ground, but he's doing it.
Yeah.
It's like,
But the other thing is too that it's not. It takes work,
oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
it takes commitment, and it takes a partnership. The two
Yeah.
of you, and I'm sure there are times when you're like, "What am I doing here?"
Like, what time is it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
so I think you're a wonderful example to so many of us, and
Oh,
me as well.
thank you.
But so you would encourage young people to come back to Vermont.
Yeah, if you've got to know this is where you want to be. I don't think this is a place where you kind of test the waters and figure it out, because it's tough. It's tough on you, and that was always the advice we got too. It's like it will give you as much as you give back to it, and it's a place where you have to work hard.
And prove yourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I
definitely.
think you have to prove to the community that you're here to stay. This is not just something that you're playing with.
Yeah.
This is something that is very real.
We're committed.
Real,
We're committed.
Which is really great.
Yeah.
Well, I am thrilled that you're here, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for coming and being on the show. And for all of you out there, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. And doesn't it give us all something to think about? Vermont is the place to be, and when we have young people like Alex and Dean, we're on a roll. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, let's talk. Ready? Ready. So let's talk.